Hi, everybody, welcome back to Ox Talks. Appreciate you tuning in to watch the show today. Before I begin, what I think is a very important story about the continued and ongoing closing of brick and mortar bank locations across this country. And I want to read a couple stories that came out from Daily Mail today. I'll show you a chart so you can actually put it into some perspective about how this is accelerating, right? And it won't be too many years down the road where there are no physical branch locations left, okay? I want to get your input on this and your feedback. Does it concern you that we have the financial system and the banking system in this country going in a direction where you can only bank basically online? So before I start, again, please like the videos, give them a thumbs up if you don't mind. Share the videos with people as far and wide as you can so people understand this stuff. They can wake up and learn what is happening with the economy. And please subscribe to this channel if you're not subscribed. We're growing, so I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get going on this story today. And I pulled an article this morning early. Both are from Daily Mail. Both deal with bank closures. And just as I was about to start recording, and there was a second one that popped up having to do with Chase Bank. The first one focused on Bank of America, okay, fairly big bank in this country, and the second one then dealt with Chase. But it talks about, and I'll start with the second one. It says Chase Bank abruptly shuts 7 branches in just 1 week amid total closures of 14 for major U.S. banks. It says Chase has closed 7 of its local branches in just 1 week, forcing its customers to travel further for vital services. The bank, the biggest in the United States, it says, was not alone in shuttering locations, as it was joined by the likes of Wells Fargo and Capital. It says Fifth Third Bank, Bank First, and Citizens Bank also closed locations between September 8th and 14th. The worst affected state was Ohio, seeing 4 banks closed in just 1 week, with other closures spanning from Wisconsin to New York. The closures were reported to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the OCC, which monitors branch closures and openings and publishes them in a weekly bulletin. So that deals with Chase Bank. The second article that's also on the Daily Mail today says experts reveal date the last bank branch will shut as worrying closure trend accelerates. I find it interesting that both these stories about closures of U.S. banks, big U.S. banks, okay, top few in the country, is coming out of a U.K. publication. So keep that in mind. This says the last physical bank branch could close in a matter of years, new research has revealed. In the first half of 2024 alone, listen to this, major banks closed 539 local branches, leaving more and more Americans without access to basic financial services. It says, despite the majority of Americans now opting to do the majority of their banking online, customers still prefer to use physical branches for particular services. You guys comment below on what you think about that. I happen to my law office is above an actual bank. And I do use this bank as well as other banks, for my banking needs. But I'll tell you, it sure is nice. It's a mid-sized bank. It sure is nice. And yes, it's right next, basically below me. But it's nice to be able to go into a physical branch location. All right. Now the Chase Bank, I also have here locally in town. The branch is also available. You can walk in, but it's smaller. It's a little more modern and just a different feel. But what do you guys think about that? I still do banking online too. It's easy to make transfers, easy to pay bills, things of that nature. I'm not suggesting that we don't need to have that as well. But what do you think about the ongoing shuttering of the brick and mortar locations? It says it's also a struggle for some older clients to operate services such as mobile banking. Nearly 2/3 of Americans still use a physical branch to make cash deposits, while over half use them to speak to an in-person advisor, the report found. 39, and let me, by the way, I can make deposits, check deposits you can scan the checks now and make them, from your iPhone or your smartphone. I personally still like to go into the banks and make deposits. Obviously, when you're doing cash transactions, you need that. So is this part of this transition to a cashless society, to a digital society? I think you guys probably know the answer to that question, right? You obviously cannot do cash transactions over your iPhone per se, meaning in terms of physical bills, correct? 39% of those polled told Self Financial that they had more trust in banks with physical branches than those without. Despite this report found that since 2012, the report found that since 2012 there have been more branch closures than openings, leaving Americans with a net loss of vital services. Are you guys seeing this in your area? Comment again below, depending on what state or area you're from in this country, and how's it impacted you? If you need to use a physical branch location, are you now having to drive across town to find one, or maybe over to the next town? I have several friends and clients that have experienced this, even down in large areas, Orange County, the coastal areas, with B of A, seeing B of A closing up big branch locations. And now they have to go, much further to do in-person banking. It says between 2012 and 2022, the last year for which data is available from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the number of bank branches fell, listen to this, from 82,461 down to 69,590. And it says not only this, but the trend has rapidly picked up pace since the pandemic as more and more services were forced to use online services. Not only this, but the bank's overhead costs increased markedly, such as building rent for physical branches, electricity costs, and rising staff wages. So some of this might just be cost cutting by the banks as well, but it's at the expense, right, of the consumer. And it's feeding into this goal, if you will, we all know, for this to become a completely digitalized system, right? The effects of this can be seen as a dramatic 2,442 branches were closed between 2021 and 2022 alone. And it says closures mean that more and more people must rely on dwindling in-person services. I wanted to show you a chart that was on one of these stories. It shows the bank closures just in 2024. And it gives you guys, it's a total of 539 in the first 6 months of the year. So take a look at this chart. Can you guys see that? And I'll scroll down. But it says banks closing branches fastest in 2024. Bank of America, 90. U.S. Bank, 73. Wells Fargo, Chase, TD Bank, Wood Forest, PNC, Citizens, Key Bank, Capital One, Citibank, and then other. So there we go, 539 branches in the first 6 months of 2024. That's alarming. Now I know people are going to say, well, they're building smaller hub locations, and when they're closing one or two, they're opening several more. They're not replacing them, that article says, nearly at the pace that they're closing these locations. It says banks of U.S. Bank closes. Yeah, I just went through. U.S. Bank closes. Well, let me give you the stats in the last couple of months, okay? Because that chart showed you the first 6 months of the year. We talk about this accelerating. U.S. Bank closes 7 branches in just 1 week, July 1st through July 8th. Multiple banks, including Wells Fargo, closed 30 branches between July 7th and July 13th. Wells Fargo closed 39 branches in 2 weeks between July 14th and July 28th. Okay, big banks, big closures. National Bank shuttered 9 locations between July 29th and August 4th. And major national banks closed 41 locations in just 2 weeks between August 4th and August 18th. And then from August 19th to September 7th, they closed 55 more branch locations, national banks across this country. I won't belabor the point. I just wanted to give you that information. Again, it's coming from a UK publication. You're probably not going to hear this from the mainstream media here in this country, because we all know what the end goal is. We all know what they're trying to do to continue to funnel people into this new system, right? Which they are getting ready at some point to roll out. And it's not going to involve cash. It's likely to involve some sort of a digital currency. I think we all know that. If you guys are reading up on what's happening and paying attention, it's very, very scary. Leave it there today, about 10 minutes. Again, appreciate you guys watching, subscribing to the channel. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.